Breaking. President Trump just found the leak. Look what Trump will do to them now. The scoop is that this Sunday they reported the main source of the leak is allegedly from #NeverTrumper named Kate Walsh. She's a primary person of interest in leaking highly confidential information to the failing New York Times, as well as leaking to other fake news websites, apparently. The Gateway Pundit reached out to Charles Johnson, who's the founder of the Got News, and he's saying that his source is 100% reliable. He says, 100% reliable, I'm unwilling to reveal the primary White House sources, but Walsh was behind the leaks. RNC's Katie Walsh, a behind-the-scenes leader. Everyone knows not to talk to her in the White House unless you want to see it in the press, says a source near the president. Quote, the only question is whether or not she's doing it at the behest of White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, or if she's doing it to advance herself in D.C. media circles, end quote. So Katie Walsh is close to reporter Maggie Haberman at the New York Times and got stories planted in the Washington Post and also in Politico. Katie Walsh has huge access to the president's scheduled, and there is apparently rumors that she's colluding with Reince Priebus to get rid of Trump. This is an extremely serious allegation because Reince Priebus, of course, is one of the beloved cabinet nominees of Donald Trump from the beginning. This is a very serious allegation. The president and his allies have been deliberately feeding her fake information in order to find her network. This is what a source says. It's best going well. It's interesting to note that Maggie Haberman, the New York Times reporter, was also exposed in the WikiLeaks Podesta email leaks as well. Let's read one of that. It says, we have a very good relationship with Maggie Haberman of Politico over the last year. We have had her tee up with stories for us before and have never been disappointed. While we should have a larger conversation in the near future about a broader strategy for re-engaging in the beat press that covers HRC, that's Hillary Rodham Clinton. For this, we think we can achieve our objective and do the most shaping by going to Maggie Haberman, that is. So Trump needs to see this and respond, and he has to do something about these leaks. And as soon as possible, of course. He has to drain the swamp and not only get this Katie Walsh out, but every other Obama staffer that's in his cabinet and his administration out as soon as possible. This is on the Liberty Writers News. I'll leave a link below for you for this. You can see the embedded video. Trump leaks are real, news is fake, and I'm not a bad person is entitled. Treason. White House Deputy Chief of Staff is guilty of the Trump leaks. one of the sources of insider leaks designed to damage the Trump administration, delegitimize President Trump, has been revealed to be White House Deputy Chief of Staff Katie Walsh. She's under Reince Priebus, of course. A never Trump Katie Walsh is under investigation for being one of the primary people responsible for distributing highly confidential, classified information to sources such as the New York Times and the Washington Post, among other mainstream media outlets. The Gateway Pundit reports the TGP reached out to Got News founder Charles Johnson for comment on the story. He said that it was 100% reliable. He says, "I'm unwilling to reveal the primary White House sources, but Walsh was behind the leaks," end quote. From Got News, we see, reported, "Everyone knows not to talk to her in the White House unless you want to see it in the press." That's what the source close to the president stated, adding, "The only question is whether or not she's doing it at the behest of White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, or if she's doing it to advance herself in D.C. media circles," end quote. One source in particular stands out. Katie Walsh is close to Maggie Haberman, a New York Times reporter, who wrote fawning pro-Republican National Committee stories during the presidential election. Walsh has also planted stories in the Washington Post and Politico. She's referred to as Madam President in the White House, says a senior aide, and that is not a compliment. Walsh would have significant access as she controls President Trump's schedule. There's also reportedly a trove of emails where Katie Walsh and Reince Priebus discuss how to rid themselves of Trump, according to a former Never Trump consultant. How to rid themselves of Trump. This is treason by both. Treason against the president and, of course, the American people. Many times in past history, we've seen that world leaders were brought down by the people closest to them in their administrations. They were like the enemy within, the fifth flank. And it seems that, Trump has caught them here. Quote, "The president and his allies have been deliberately feeding her fake information in order to find her network," end quote, says a source close to the president's family. And he added, "It's been going well." Walsh was a Never Trump Republican during the campaign. Neither Walsh nor her family were supporters during the campaign, says a source from Walsh's hometown of St. Louis. The White House investigation is planned into Walsh, who could not be reached for comment. This comes shortly after the Washington Examiner reported that the White House Intelligence Chair, David Nunes, set forth that there are also Obama-era officials in the Trump administration who are leaking information as the administration restaffs. Update. Maggie Haberman, who is being investigated for collusion with Katie Walsh, was previously exposed in the Podesta email leaks. This is by Sean Adel Tabatabai on your Newswire. Now, one thing is for certain, that they have to get rid of all these Republicans who are Never Trump Republicans, and of course all the past Obama-era officials that are still in the administration, in Trump's administration. This should never have been allowed to be taking place. Never Trump Republicans are never Trump. So my question is, why did he let them in to his administration? This is terrible. Okay, this is on your Newswire. I'll leave a link below for you for this. There has been lessons to be learned through past history. People closest to leaders have been their worst enemies, the enemy from within, the fifth flank. Breaking. The person leaking information on Trump to liberal media is finally exposed. Now we'll see why they betrayed our country. This is treason. The Democrats still have some people in the White House from the Obama era. They're staffing the White House because they are simultaneously stalling as long as they can before confirming President Trump's picks for his cabinet. These people are actively working against President Trump. They're trying to stop all of his plans before they get started. There have also been several leaks of classified information, classified materials, sensitive materials that have been leaked to the liberal media, but they are no more now that they have been caught. Never Trumper Deputy Chief of Staff Katie Walsh has been exposed, according to Got News, as a leak of these classified materials. She's, of course, the assistant to Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. Charles Johnson of the president, he's the president of Got News. He was asked about the source of the information, and he had this to say, quote, 100% reliable. I'm unwilling to reveal the primary White House sources, but Walsh was behind the leaks, end quote. From Got News, this is reported, quote, everyone knows not to talk to her in the White House unless you want to see it in the press, end quote, says a source close to the president. Quote, the only question is whether or not she's doing it at the behest of White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, or if she's doing it to advance herself in DC media circles, end quote. One source in particular stands out. Katie Walsh is close to Maggie Haberman, a New York Times reporter, who wrote fawning pro-Republican National Committee stories during the presidential election. Katie Walsh has also planted stories in the Washington Post and Politico. Walsh's days are numbered, it seems, because progress doesn't wait for people that try to stop it. It's just another example of the Democrats and their Republican allies, Republican traitors, in the White House that never liked President Trump and will do anything to try and stop him. It's unfortunate that President Trump has to be working with the leftover Obama-era staffers. It's much more. When President Trump notified the public that there was a mole in his administration, where the leaks were coming from, that he would find it, we all expected that it would have been an Obama-era staffer, for example, of those left over in the White House. But nobody expected it would be somebody from his own party, so close to him. Now, we have to find out if Reince Priebus was involved in this as well. Evidently, there were emails that were exchanged between him and Katie Walsh as to how they would bring down President Trump. This is definitely treason. Now, this is by the Gateway Pundit. It's on USA Politics Today. I'll leave a link below for you. You can see the embedded video.